Jane Johnson.
Here.
Brandon Sell. Here.
Recording in progress.
Victoria Ames is not here. Selectmen's Rep Bill Hutwelker is not here. Steve Malone, alternate, not here. Michael Scungio, alternate, not here. And Brian Vertigo, alternate, not here. So there's no alternates to seat for Victoria, but we have a quorum, so we will continue. The agenda for this evening is mainly just discussions and other business. Item A would be TC Legacy, and we're discussing a multi-tenant in that site plan. Item B is North Swanzey rezoning discussion. Item C is zoning amendments discussion in general. D, plan reading workshop, which we probably won't be doing. And other business that may be required, and that would be planning board representative for CIPC. So there's nothing on our agenda, so we don't even need a motion for regional impact there. We probably will if we get discussing this zoning at a public hearing, because the board is a keen line, but tonight we're just preliminarily discussing it. And let's see, and so we have to review the minutes and approve the minutes of July 13th. So does anyone have any?
Page 2.
Page 2, let's get to it.
Please make a motion to approve in a second and then discuss the changes. I'm sorry, that's the way I need to do
Want
it.
it that way? Okay.
Yeah.
So, then we need a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion. Okay. Second.
Motion by Jane, seconded by Richard Lane.
And then there was discussion.
Now, is there any further
Yes.
discussion?
Okay.
Exactly.
Just on page 2,
Okay.
under the paragraph, public hearing, right after the line where it says on sheet 9 and 10, the next words, he, they have secured. What does that mean?
I'm sorry, it says what?
He, they have secured. What should that have
I'd
been?
have to look at it.
It'd have to be they. Right.
You just drop the he out of there?
Yeah.
Or when they?
Yeah, they
Is
have
it
secured.
when they have?
Yes, it was supposed to be they.
Okay, so it's not when
It's a
they-
typo.
Okay.
No, it's just a typo.
Anybody else have any amendments? Then those in favor of approving the minutes with the amendments, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I mean, I can't, I wasn't here. All those opposed, then they are approved. All abstain.
Okay.
Next, that brings us to the first item, which is TC Legacy, and that is a multi-tenant. And the planning board needs to take a look and decide whether they need a full-blown site plan review or being a multi-tenant and an expansion of an existing use in there if they do not. So that's the first order of business for the planning board to decide whether we want them to come in. You've reviewed it as what they're doing here, right? They're adding I guess it's a large truck parts type of a business in there. And they have other auto businesses in there, which they have for quite some time. And it's a multi-tenant, they're going in, I think, Suite A of Building 2, I think it was, you know.
Well, that's the new one.
That's that new one, yeah, closest to where you're turning there. So, in my opinion, they don't need a site plan review, because again, it's just like an existing business in there. And we're gonna be seeing them pretty soon anyways for a full-blown site plan review, as soon as they get the drawing. But this being a multi-tenant, we can decide whether or not we want to.
I'm just a little confused. If you go to the layout here, is this what they're proposing to add? Or,
Yeah.
because if you go to their schematic of A, B, C, D, and F, it doesn't show any sort of,
Well,
Outbuilding.
this particular item right here, they aren't adding anything, they're going for a multi-tenant in that slot right there in that building number 2. They aren't talking about adding anything on there. We did approve that little addition, remember that little one right there?
but I don't think that this is that.
It might not be, but again, that's the, I don't know, the assessor's cards, sometimes they're correct, sometimes they're not. But I don't know that we should be going by that, we should be going by just what they presented to us with their application there. That, and I noticed that too, it was a little bit off, but it was a little bit odd, because it's not the entire site plan, they have a couple of different assessing cards in there. But they do have the aerial view of it, and we can see that, see where it's going. So the question is, we want them to come in for a site plan review? Or not, yes or no? Motion one way or the other. Okay, let's have a motion just for that.
So moved.
Okay, a motion by Michael York that they do not have to come in for a site plan review for this particular
Excuse me.
modification. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Brandon Self. Is there any further discussion? Then all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, that's out of the way, so now we can do this right at this meeting right here. It's on the agenda.
So all are in favor, did anybody not vote?
I'm going to abstain until we discuss it further.
And I didn't hear your vote.
No, I'm not sure what to rate.
Me either, that's, I want to,
I'm
I
sorry.
want to
I'm
talk
sorry.
We
about
need to
it.
go back on that, or have another motion. We had a motion, we voted on it, so
Well,
we have
it would
to.
be 3-2.
Well,
Okay,
Okay,
they
3-2
may.
in favor.
yes, I got that then.
Okay, so now your concerns.
Well, I think all of this is new, isn't it? Number 2,
Number 2 is fairly new. It was approved by us, but
it's a new building.
it is, it's new, not to this particular,
It was built in 2020, I believe.
Yes.
so 3 years ago. Okay,
It's
Oh,
already-
it's
it's currently
Approved
on
in
the property.
2020. Yeah, the
Did we see a
existing,
site plan then?
We did.
Yes. Okay,
There
that's
are
what I
businesses in
questioned.
there that have done basically the same thing,
There are,
you know?
but yeah, we have seen that building, we did approve it.
Okay.
Richard? You had some concerns?
I just want to reread
Yeah,
what they're doing here, if I may. I'm sorry I didn't do this prior.
quite all right. We've got plenty of time. Anybody else? We'll discuss, Mike Jasmine, code enforcement?
When Mr. Chapman originally proposed the structures, was one of the uses that he had brought to the board is the potential probable use. Just,
Of this particular use, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Like, of this one that we're talking about now?
yeah.
Okay, thank you. The applicant, would you, nothing to add? Okay.
You're getting it right.
Can you hear me?
So let me just,
Can I comment from Zoom?
someone on the,
Yeah, it's Victoria.
oh, okay.
I'm
Yeah, let's
here
hear it.
watching my cow not have a calf yet. I'm not understanding it. The application calls for auto parts and accessories, but also custom repair and design for heavy trucks, which implies to me like they're going to need space to store trucks, heavy trucks that they're working on. And I wonder if that shouldn't be designated on this site plan, because I think the issue that I see on that lot to begin with is everything looks great, except there's like this random and miscellaneous collection of heavy equipment just as you drive into the lot on the right.
Yep,
So
Okay.
that's a concern.
okay, that's a
I'm
good
sorry.
question. Could you answer that?
I
please?
can answer
Or
that.
Could you-
Just a
could you
moment,
just-
just a moment.
I could not hear Victoria until the very end. Could you just repeat to me what her concern is?
Victoria is concerned that they're going to be storing heavy trucks on there while they're working on, before they're working on them or while they're working on them.
Got it, okay, thank you.
And, okay, thank
Okay,
you.
so I can address this.
Thank
My
you.
name is Jennifer Shabbat.
I'm sorry, the name?
Jennifer Shabbat.
Okay,
And this is actually going to be a second garage for them. And this is sort of his finished space. They'll typically only have one truck at a time. And this is where his clients are going to come and receive the reveal, right? He'll be working on one at a time there. He has another garage in a different town. He wanted to have a clean, nice, presentable space for this like finished detail. His clients will come and do their part. So there is no intention of there being piles of trucks.
Yeah, mainly one vehicle at a time.
Okay.
Let me just go down the application here. Okay, it's zoned industrial. Let's see, and it's auto parts and accessories, custom repair and design for heavy trucks, which is what you said. And it's gonna be building 1 unit A. Is that building 1 unit A or is it building 2 unit A? Building 2 unit A?
The layout numbers have
The layout
changed.
Oh, they've
does
changed?
have changed up with the address changing and then some evens on It's two.
Okay, and let me just clarify, we're talking about that right there, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
It doesn't feel logical to call it two because it's the first building when you come in, but
Yep.
given the way that roads are typically even on one side and not on the other, it becomes two.
Okay, thank you. And let's see, okay, building 2A. And the hours are Monday through Friday, hours 8 to 5, occasional weekends as needed. And full-time employees, he says 0. I would assume that it's just going to be the owner
Just
working
the
there.
owner,
So
yes.
actually, that would be one employee, I would say, so it'll be him. Let's see, customers per day, 0 to 1. So that would, that was a question I had, how are you gonna run a business at 0 to 1, customers coming in per day, but that's what it is. They're
Yes.
bringing it from another location and finishing it there. I understand now, thank you. Parking spaces planned, and we've got 2 at the building and 3 in auxiliary area if needed. Deliveries, UPS as many as 2 times per week. And no additional outside lighting to be added to the existing building. And permits required, he has his license Class A down there number, but I don't know if he needs that for working there. And they're talking about the signage, and that's really handled administratively by the land use office, but it'll be a small piece, or a small sign in the main sign that's on there by the works. Okay, that's the, and Victoria, you're still on with us, correct?
I am, yeah.
Did the answer satisfy your questions on that? You know,
I guess I hope when we see the complete site plan that we'll have designated parking for these different businesses.
Yep, that's true, and they will be coming in with a complete site plan. I don't know what the holdup is, they're, I guess, busy.
It's being worked on.
Okay, it's being worked
They've
on.
been on site, they've
Okay.
done the measurements, and
Yeah.
so on and so forth, and so it's now in their office and they're skating.
Okay, so yeah, when the planning board looks at that, that'll probably be one of the things they're looking at.
And do we have an estimated time of arrival for that complete site plan?
No, I guess not. We don't have that for our site plans that we are getting back, or the modified site plans either. I don't know, I guess they're all busy or something. But when it comes back in, they intend to do other things there, so it's to their advantage to come in and or get it to us as soon as possible. Mike, Jasmine.
Even once we receive the done site plan, which I've talked to Chad, I know he is working on, this area did get site plan review, and it is gonna be isolated to the space that got that review. So even once we get the new overall site plan, this space is still gonna be, I'll call it isolated, just because of the way the road and everything runs around it anyway.
Do you mean it won't be on the site plan that we're
No,
getting?
it will be, but I mean,
Okay.
it's still gonna be, what it is now is what it'll be then, and this space was actually probably the most viewed portion of this property at the time Mr. Chadwick built it. It did get site plan review, this section of the property, so it wasn't what we normally see, that's true, but it was done to the plan, and it will remain the same even with the new plan. I'm pretty confident because of the way the road runs and everything else. It may have a little bit of drainage put in it now that doesn't now, maybe. But it's pretty much gonna, that section of the property isn't really gonna change much at all. There's really no reason for it to either. But it will be incorporated, absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you.
That's accurate.
That is accurate.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mike, excuse me, the current building, does that have all of the fire prevention things that are mentioned under this applicable ordinance and regulations? Being the firewalls, the smoke detectors, et cetera?
Eric and I will go in and make sure it gets whatever it needs. That building it's a big building, it depends on how they divvies up, it depends on what it needs where and when. So like any other multi-tenant application, whether it gets whatever reviews it gets, Eric and I still go in and still check it out no matter what. So we will be going in there when you guys say whatever it is you say.
So that can be a condition,
That's
fire and
just
building
right.
inspector.
Okay.
Okay, and any other further discussion on this? No? Okay, anybody from the public discussing this? No? Then I guess a motion would be in order to approve the multi-tenant application with the condition that it's inspected by the fire department, approved, and by the building inspector.
So moved again.
Motion by Michael York, for that.
So, yeah, I'm a little confused. So you already have a motion that you passed, 3-2.
That motion was that they did not have to come for a full site plan.
Oh, okay,
Because the
now
planning
this
board
one,
can
and this
designate.
one is,
This is a motion to approve the multi-tenant
okay,
application.
thank you so much.
With those two conditions.
Yes, for the two
Okay,
conditions.
Okay. And moved by Michael York, that was seconded by Richard Lane. Is there any further discussion? No, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, we're set.
Thank
And we
you.
hope to see you pretty soon with that, full-blown site plan.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next item up is North Swansea rezoning discussion. And I'm assuming everyone is here. Are you coming to make a presentation? Good.
Well, maybe a presentation, more discussion.
Well, just, yeah.
Mind if I sit there?
You come right up.
Thank you.
Just identify yourself for the minutes and talk loud enough so we
I
can all.
know Mark.
Oh, you do know.
I do know Mark.
Mark Scalera.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna just move this out. So I'm guessing everybody read the packet.
I think so.
So I think it's, it's really clear what we're looking to propose to you. We're hoping it's amenable to what people really want, and that would be to have this business district actually be a residential district. We figure out the compromise that includes some zoning changes, maybe the creation of the Village 3, Business Village 3 district, or modifying Business Village 1 to be more in tune to what we have here, would be acceptable to us, right? So like I said, we're looking, to make something that was hopefully amenable and something that the board here would embrace and take it to the town warrant going forward. Through the course of years, what we've gone through with the projects up there, and certainly there's another group of people that are currently confronted with Sylvan Way and the 18-unit proposal there that we'll be making to the board in the future. There's a lot of people that are upset in that part of the town. So through the course of the deliberations, I heard from most everybody on the board, not everybody, that, they were, say, against the Adjournment project, but we have to follow our rules and regulations and our zoning. And so we're looking to remedy that. And hopefully you guys will be supporting this. So what I handed out was really a rationale for this, how we're looking at it. Also in there is the delta, or what's different from the Village Business District 1 versus what we're proposing here. I can read through it, but I can read through this as well. I think maybe we'll just start with questions as opposed to.
Yeah, sure. Personally, I think it's something that you should do. Because zoning, of course, that area up there is quite residential, for sure. I have a few questions on it. Now, this is what we've got, that the rezoning would be, what we're talking about. You have a copy of that, do you, or you don't have a copy? There's one right by you there.
No, I have that.
And
There's one right next to you, underneath that, there's the whole town zoning, district by district.
And one question, I don't know about question, but just the statement I would have about it is leaving that little piece right there as a fragmented piece of this zone down inside of the regular business zone. It's not really good zoning to do that. Why specifically is that one there? Did you have?
The, what we have there, and actually a little beyond that, I think.
You're going down, as far down as power.
Yeah, so everything that's down to where that contiguous business district ends here are fairly well-established businesses already.
And we're talking about down to here?
Well, where it's contiguous, it ends just a little bit down,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
There's no real rhyme or reason to that's where we ended, other than we needed to make some delineation, okay? Even here, we have established businesses already. So, you know, those are not our concern. Our concerns are, you know, people coming into.
Closer to the
residential
residence,
area.
right? Closer in here.
Yeah, but I mean, but this is also, you know, it's also the part around Wilson Pond, right?
Mhm.
That we're trying to preserve. So,
Yep.
so I mean, if that delineation interrupts a business district, and it's hard to see even on this map, you know, I would say continue it down to the end of that business district.
Continue this, just take a look, straight down to that you're talking about, right?
Just a little bit further beyond that.
Oh, beyond Page Court?
Yeah, just a little bit beyond that.
That would be Fraser.
Oh, right to Fraser you're talking about.
Power generator.
To the end of that zone,
Yeah,
right?
right to the end of that.
And
zone.
so-
Yeah, we didn't even think of that, how you would look at it, about breaking it up. But, yeah, I would just, you know,
So that would include Fraser's is what we're talking about, it would include Powers?
Fraser's, I think there's a storage place there.
Yeah,
Included all
there's a
in
storage
the
in there.
business district. I mean, they're already established, they're grandfathered in.
Yeah.
You know, so we have, right?
So, let's see,
So the only business district really left on 32 is where, you know, Ernie Webb and that area there,
Mhm.
right? And, you know,
so when we look at zoning, it's gotta be fair. You know, we've talked about that before, it's gotta be fair. And what you're doing with zoning is that you're trying to make it fair and livable, everyone being able to enjoy their property, private property that they can. And when you zone with further restrictions, it's like, it's a taking of the property. You know, it can be considered that, which it actually is a taking of property. It's, you know, these people own their property, those people own their property, they might wanna put a store there, these others don't. And, you know, they pay taxes and it's a right you're taking from the property, so we have to weigh those too while we're looking at this. Now, I'm not talking about this being against what you guys are proposing, I'm just pointing out that that's how we look at it here. We have to look, it's gotta be fair. So, in saying that, also looking over the proposal, the idea to incorporate it into business district or village business district 1, I think is a good idea. You don't have it there, we have a copy of the zoning map here, and business district 1 is here in West Swansea, and it's,
It's four sections.
yeah, yeah, small sections there, up Main Street here,
Main Street.
you've got one down Winchester Street and that on there.
Over here and then so on.
Yep, so,
And once again, those are all pretty well established, I think maybe.
There's someone, there's
of,
a lot of residences down there, as is up here, you're talking about North Swansea, so, you know, if we did do that, I think that we could take some of the uses out of Village Business District 1, the ones that you have not included into your proposal, without really taking too much. Again, it's a taking of somewhat that, that the property owner won't be able to use his property or to do those things with the property all at once. But then the zoning goes down to a half acre and 100-foot frontage, which is a giving right there. You know, you've got a piece of property, you might be able to get 2 lots out of it or 2 things out of it rather than 1. If you're, because this is dropping down the zoning. In business, it's 1 acre and 150 feet, I believe.
Yeah.
Or 150, yeah, 150. So now you're proposing in this village business district, which it is there too, the half acre size and the 100-foot frontage, which is a given in my opinion. You know, it's a give and take type of a thing. But getting back to, I just want to go over some of the things that that we could leave out. So,
May I ask a question?
go right in. Yep. Discussion. Jump right in.
Why would you want to take an area that is 90% or better residential and create a business district?
It is a business.
No, what
It is a business district.
If you want to change something to protect your property and the individual, which is I'm believe is what I'm hearing, especially after the Plainview project, why would you open the door to create more businesses that are going to possibly be unsightly into your neighborhood. Now, like, you know, because it is within within the reality or the privy of the town to change that or keep it as a residential, grandfathering any business like the veterinary clinic, any other small at-home business that is there. But you're protecting all the other people that have invested money into their homes in that area. If you change it to a business area, looking at what you've got listed here for potential businesses coming in, you're going to be coming back and screaming at the planning board, why are we allowing this unsightly business to come back or to come into our neighborhood?
Yeah, so.
And one other thing, if a business should go out, say the veterinary clinic closes down, they have 2 years with which to do something with the building to make another business or something. After that 2 years, then it goes out of a business situation and goes back into whatever you've zoned into that area.
Well, I think you're suggesting that this should be a residential area.
That is what I'm suggesting. I mean,
Yeah, it is not a residential area now, you do know that, right?
I know that that's not what it's zoned for, but I know,
It's densely populated with a lot of single, and a few multi-family homes, but all this right now that you're seeing in blue is a business district.
correct.
So, you know, that to us is a bigger risk than refining that to a more refined or controlled business district. Certainly our preference would be to have this be residential, absolutely. And if the board thinks that would go through, I would propose that. I'd be walking out here with a home run.
You know, having grown up in that area and going back, you know, a great number of years, that the character of that area is residential, and it always has been. There have been a couple of mom and pop operations in there. Wilbur Brothers Supermarket started in that area, but it has long since changed and become residential. All of these small mom and pop operations have become residential, and I don't see the rationale of going away from the potential of keeping that as a residential or suggesting a zoning change to a residential situation.
Would you make a motion?
We gotta figure out about that a bit more.
You can't, his rationale is that it's business now, and it's a lot more is allowed in that business.
Oh, I
now.
understand that.
And the other rationale is what I was talking about before, is that when you change it from business back to residential or to residential, you're actually taking some of those people's property rights that own the businesses there and diminishing them, you know, which diminishes the value of their property. We're doing that in doing
But
this.
what is the master plan guideline to maintain the character of the town of Swanzey?
It is.
Okay, so if the character of that area is residential, even though it is zoned, or why it was zoned business back then, I
I think
have
just
an
because it was
answer.
32. I think maybe just because the airport was 32.
You know, why we would change the character or potentially change the character of the area.
Well, the planning board certainly can propose that whole thing down there be changed to residential. But I'm not so certain it would go through just because of taking the rights away from the business owners along there.
When you say it wouldn't go through, are you saying that the town would vote it down if we put it on a ballot, or are you saying that the planning board would?
Oh, no, well, the planning board may say no, but they can still put it on with petition.
Correct.
So, I'm saying it's, go ahead.
On the other hand, if it's a business zone, that sometimes deteriorates the value of the property of the residential owners as well. So
But the
it's a
businesses are already there.
catch-22.
They're already there.
Is there a way to?
Lower than what they're saying. The area that they're got on their map, the only place that I see a business per se is Whitcomb's.
Oh, up here, way up here.
You know,
Talking
in
about-
this,
right
on
there.
the right-hand side. There are apartment buildings, that's multi-tenant. But still, it's, it's business, it's multi-tenant, but it's residential too.
We've run into just a, I don't know if you'd call it a situation, but where we've, went to, and it was recently, I think, went to rezone to a different zone, I think maybe back to residential, and the people didn't want it. They wanted that staying commercial because it made their property more valuable.
You're talking about Fenton?
I think it.
Yeah,
Across.
flat roof mill road behind the car
Yeah,
dealership.
well, no one showed up.
Also, Jim Devine's right there across from Fountains
No,
too.
but I'm just bringing that up because that does happen, that's a concern of the people, that sometimes they want it to remain, even though they've got a house on it, they want it to remain commercial or business because it's more valuable as that kind of a lot. Again, it's private property rights, what the person,
Now, is it possible to chain it residential, giving grandfather into the existing businesses?
Absolutely.
it is.
Yeah.
But what he's
But
saying is,
again,
I know what he's saying, but that was another question.
it's all possible, anything is possible, it's whether the voters would go along with it or not, or the planning board supports it or not, who knows? But that's all possible to do. But again, you don't know if the property owners,
Yeah, I take your point, because like a Jim Devine situation where he didn't want that changed from business to residential,
Yeah.
because he may, being in Sullivan now, he may do something with that property.
that's right.
And his highest value would be as a commercial property.
However,
I think the residents feel threatened.
Yeah,
Yes,
and they,
By the businesses.
duly so,
They have no control over
right?
what comes in there. We've seen that happen. That's why you're gonna see 20 people coming in with Sylvan Way. A whole different pattern than the 30 people that came in for Avenue, right? These are all people that live in that area. Those are the ones that wish to participate. You know, the participation level in this town is pretty low, right?
Yeah.
So,
Until it's resident,
this is a unique situation, I'm sorry.
that's okay. The property that Michael mentions is right on Route 12.
Correct.
That makes a big difference
It makes
too.
a difference, yes.
These down on 32, and a lot of them really close to Wilson Pond, which is an area where when you put in a business, there's a lot of question, or like the large multifamily we've talked about, there's a lot of question about the runoff and what the business would be doing if it's, if it's a business that uses oils and pollutants. So and the businesses that are there now are pretty clean cut and not bothering anybody, but I don't really see that. If I were a resident there, I'd feel that you were making my property more valuable as a residence by prohibiting businesses, rather than having people get an exception or being allowed to put in a business that maybe I wouldn't want in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
So
It's a
I think
balance.
that makes your property more valuable if you can't be infringed upon.
Yeah, the whole thing is, it's a balance, and it's a give and take, zoning is give and take, as you were talking about that before. Yes, I didn't see, I'm sorry, Mike.
As Julius and I are kind of like, in another week, gonna be sort of quasi-planning things. I was actually looking with a real estate agent regarding the only Village One district property that exists on Summer Street. There's one lot,
Yeah,
kind of an oddity. I'm not really sure how that happened or why, but it is.
I don't know.
And as I was looking at what was allowed, I was a little bit surprised because I thought, well, these on Summer Street, some of these this might be a little odd, this might be a little different. We were actually talking about another property, we weren't talking about that one, but he was curious what the blue meant. So we were discussing the blue, that's surrounded by residentials, otherwise. And is there any value in looking at what's allowed in this process in Village District 1 period?
Yeah,
There is.
yeah, I need to change that.
In in regards to what we're doing now, or I mean, as a separate issue? What are we
Well, I
doing?
mean, kind of, I mean, this is an interesting time to exercise it, right? We've got one that exists, and we've got one that's a would-be.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think it bears produce, I would say, to look at Business District 1, because a lot of that stuff in there, we should go through them. You wouldn't be able to put, or shouldn't anyways, be able to put where that business.
No, I couldn't
you
imagine it passing site plan review.
No, you couldn't do it, so, and with a lot of those things eliminated from there, it pretty much comes up to what they're
What their goal
proposing.
is.
Yes,
I
yeah.
agree.
So in District 1, there's a single-family dwelling, a restaurant is allowed. We'd be taking out hotel, motel, and they'd still be allowing a bed and breakfast facility. And professional business offices would be allowed. Club or lodge would not be, taking that out. Retail business establishment allowed. Personal service shop or service establishment allowed. Banking or financial institution allowed. Be removing nursing home. And those are, let's see, home occupation is allowed in most of them anyways. And that's all for the allowable uses. Now for the special exception one, you're taking a lot of that stuff out. It would be allowing, let's see, a recreational facility conducted as a business only when such business activity is conducted indoors, and a daycare facility. The rest would be removed, and that would be gasoline service stations, repair garage or body shop, motor vehicle dealership, wholesale or manufacturing facility, vehicle wash facility. Let's see, and that would be it. So that would be, with those removed, that would be the Business District 3 that's being proposed.
I would add a bed count on the bed and breakfast.
You would add a what, bed
I
count?
would add a bed count on the bed and breakfast.
Yeah, that would be the Village District 3, then it wouldn't affect the one over here. Correct? Because what you do there, you don't want,
Well, what we're talking about is not, we're proposing not to do a separate Business District 3. We have a Business District 1, 2, and 3, and a regular business district. Instead of piling on ordinance after ordinance like that, how about combining these two? It was suggested that we should, and I think it's a good idea, combine Business District 1, Village Business District 1, removing those uses there, and it would apply to where it already exists down here, and it would apply to where these guys are proposing it up there. And it would be those limited uses, which are not, you probably wouldn't want to see them next door to your house. But again, it's not as bad as what we just put in up there.
yeah,
So,
unfortunately, yeah.
and this is what these guys are trying to get ahead of. And it's a good thing that you do that. That's how it works, is that we do it. So there's also the density part of it there. Let's see, we're in Business District, Village Business District 1, the density is 8 units per acre for multifamily dwelling. So in this one it's proposed, I think it's down to, is it 6? Yeah, it's down to 6. And let me just get my page here.
And that's provided and connected to water and sewer.
So, I've gone beyond what I'm going here. So, it's 8 in Village Business 1. So if we brought that down to 6, let's see, it's 3 in residential zone, and it's 12 in business zone, so 12 could go in there now. If we reduce the Business District 1 down to the 6 that these guys are talking about, I don't think that would be objectionable to anybody. I don't know. You take a look at the properties around those, and you probably wouldn't even be able to get the 6 units in there, because
How many lots do we have there that are even an acre?
well, you'd need, to get the 6 units in there, you'd need about 3.5 acres on the lot to do it. So, I don't know if you find too many lots like that around anyways that they could put on. And besides that, we allow the higher density in other areas of town. Put it in.
Ignore it.
And
Sorry.
another thing about that density requirement with the sewer, this part probably would not get another big multi-housing unit down in here in West Swanzey, because that system is pretty much a capacity with the phosphorus removal that it has and with the upcoming requirements of the EPA they're putting on this plant down here. So we'd probably figure That's probably not gonna happen down here. They need a sewer system. They can get water, but they need a sewer system to put up multifamily like that. So we can figure that if it's going in town, again, it's going down where you guys are, because that's where all the sewer is. That entire road from, it's almost the Keene line anyway, just about the Keene line, all the ways down through there is sewer. And that goes to the Keene wastewater treatment plant. The town of Swanzey has about 260,000 gallons worth of capacity, or reserved capacity at that plant. We're currently putting in about 35,000 a day. So there's a huge capacity that Swansea could put in there. Again, I'm just bringing this down to point out, you know, the possibility of
Can I
zoning.
ask you a
as we're
quick
talking.
question?
Yes.
None of the multifamily units in this district are 8 families? Are you sure
I
of
don't
that?
know. I
You
don't
wouldn't
know.
want to
What I'm,
outlaw a business that has, I mean, a residential dwelling that has 8 units. If it already
but
exists.
if it'd be grandfathered in,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
just to make the zoning more
Okay.
fitting of the neighborhoods.
Would that still count if the person sold the building and say it had 16 apartments grandfathered in, but that person sold the building to somebody else, would that still be grandfathered in?
It goes with the property and not with the owner. All that stuff, special exceptions and variances go with the property, not with the owner.
Can I
So,
ask a question?
yeah, go ahead.
This is a question for Mark, and I'm wondering about the boundary. It would be the eastern boundary that is north of Park Street. And there are quite a few small lots that are not included in this proposed district. And I'm wondering what your thinking is about excluding those lots.
Well, only the ones that are shaded are in the business district. The other ones are actually in a residential district.
Okay. Thank you.
So let's see, I saw you looking at your density. Was I right about that, or you're calculating?
It's one of those funny things where it says density requirement shall be 1 acre for the first dwelling unit, ½ acre for each additional unless connected to public sewer, and then that kind of cancels that out. So they would need 3.5 acres if it was septic
If it, yeah. if
for
it was-
multifamily.
yeah,
So if they were to do that in the existing Village 1, and it was reduced to 6 units per acre, they would need 3.5 acres. But in North Swansea, they would not need that much.
No, the whole thing is sewer. That's kind of
Exactly.
a moot point right there.
Exactly, so they could put 6
They could
on
put
an acre.
6, yeah. And that's what's proposed, 6. Yeah.
Yep,
And if we change that Village Business 1 down to 6, which would incorporate down here, it'd be the same thing. Again, there's small lots down here. You wouldn't get, well, you might get 1 lot, 3 acres down there, but that's about it.
I think there are 2 properties in Village 1 that meet that, and one of them will be redeveloped. The other one already has a multifamily housing project on it.
All right, so, yeah, I think it's Winchester Street, somewhere in Winchester Street. Is that where it is you're talking about, or no? Oh, no, I guess not. No, that doesn't go that far.
I'm thinking of the housing that's like right across the street from us.
Right there. Okay.
Back
Yeah,
a little
those
bit.
units.
I think that's in Village 1.
Southwestern over here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's
But
Village
the
1.
housing
Okay,
was-
so, one other thing on that, see, I noticed you didn't allow religious facilities as a use, but there's one there, you know. Is that an oversight or is that on purpose? Or?
I don't think by state law you can stop a religious house going in, if it's a recognized religion.
Really? I don't know, even if it's not an allowable use?
Doesn't matter.
It's a law that was passed last summer.
Oh,
I
was it?
believe.
Okay, so that's out. I mean, they can go in there if they want, I suppose, and again, let's see. So, and another question I had on the allowable uses is a drive-through, would that be considered up there? Had you considered that? I'm just running down these things before, so we can discuss it all.
That was not considered.
You know, and what would your thoughts on something like that
Is
be?
a drive-through considered something different than a restaurant?
It's like the Dunkin' Donuts drive-through, those types of things. You're not proposing that at all, okay.
I'm sure you don't want it up here in business,
And in the zoning in general, we don't talk about duplexes too much as far as, let's see, two-family dwelling, yeah, you've got two-family dwelling, density requirement for two-family dwelling shall be 1.5 acres and that's connected to public sewer. So we don't say what the minimum lot size is for, if it's connected to a public sewer, so for a duplex. So it probably would boil down to the minimum lot size, which is 1/2 acre, which is proposed here, I would say, if it was connected to public sewer. And again, a duplex isn't that big of a deal, right? It's about the same size as a single-family house anyway. It's not doing anything there, but it'd probably be ending up on 1/2 acre. They could put on 1/2 acre, since it doesn't state otherwise in here. Because we don't, in the rest of the zoning either, we don't stipulate what is the minimum size acre for the duplexes, but it's just assumed, I think, that it would go on whatever the minimum size acre is for that particular district. This would be.
Yeah, I think we need to have clarity there, and, you know, certainly.
Probably should, maybe. I think we should for all of them, but I'm just bringing them up. Let's see.
No, this is a basis, and you guys are working with it, and that's a good sign.
That's the only why you're here, when you leave. So, we also have,
I got to try to be more genuine.
they have a height restriction here that is different from the 45 feet that we have in the rest of the zoning, and that is in Village District 3, which this may be one. It's 35 feet unless approved before the ordinance is enacted, which is the other place out there. So, anybody have any thoughts on that 35 feet as opposed to the 45 feet? I don't. That's pretty high anyways. There are exemptions for steeples and things like that anyways in the zoning. but-
Because in that area, it has to pass through the FAA anyway, so.
Well, yeah, it's pretty close to the airport there, so
Yeah.
they'll have to go with that, and the glide slope. Let's see, 30, yeah, that's what that was right there. You know, all of the other things in here are pretty much the same as are in that Village Business District 1. So if we go ahead and do this, I'm for combining the districts and having just one Village Business District 1 and covering those two areas,
Yeah.
rather than making a whole nother.
That's why I generated that question to you, because I feel the same way.
Okay. So, discussion, public. You folks are here for this, aren't you?
We are.
The whole, you know,
Oh,
We're all for it. We're all.
okay. Julius, are you here for this?
I am.
You are.
Well, not to speak about a specific topic, more so to listen, so I can be prepared
Oh.
for the next time.
Okay. Mike, do you have any comments on this? Okay, so, what do you think? You know, this isn't a hearing, we're just discussing it. We can nail something down if it looks like it's advisable to do that. I think it is. You know, we might want to just go forward with it. Yes, would you identify?
I just have a procedural question now.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Vicky's clear.
Yeah, I know,
Can you decide this amongst yourself, or does it have to go somewhere else?
Well, here's how it works. This is discussion phase, seeing what's
Yeah.
proposed and that type of thing. So then the planning board will probably have it written out again with whatever maybe changes we might have discussed.
Public hearing.
And, well, the board may have another meeting without being a public hearing, just to discuss it again, because at public hearing, you can't change too awfully much, then you have to go back through the process again. So, if the board is in consensus on another meeting, that's what should be in there, then we have the public hearing, public is invited to comment on it, and if the planning board recommends it for the warrant next year, then it goes on the warrant next year. And if the planning board doesn't recommend it, you can put it on with, I think, 25%.
Thank you.
Welcome. So, what do you think? Any changes in there that we might have missed or anything? You see all the allowable uses in there, what's used, it's pretty reasonable, I think, for that area. Jane, you don't look too happy about that, I don't know, do you?
I think so.
Okay.
Did you guys
So-
decide that you agreed with the proposed geography?
Yeah, let's talk about that. You know, how far should it go down? Should it go right down to, you know, we all have this map right here. Continue right on down to, I guess, now you're proposing beyond that, correct? Beyond Page Court?
just because of the point you made on proposing it goes to where that business district ends in that block. So I don't,
Yeah,
I
that's
can't
the,
really tell from this map exactly.
yeah, it's down, well, you can tell by this map here,
It
we're
looks like it's another,
down to there. So,
So the only problem with that is, wouldn't that include like Frazier's and Sons?
it would,
Now, what if they, say, retired and went to sell the building, then they'd only be able to sell it to a residential person to build a house there, right?
no, it would still,
Grandfathered in.
they'd be grandfathered in as a business, but if they wanted to change the business, it'd have to abide by the new zoning laws of what could be done in it.
And what they're doing now could continue because they're a retail business.
They are, but if
And
they wanted
that's-
to change, but if they, we're talking about if they
Right.
sold the building and they wanted to change something like
So you're
that,
saying auto dealership.
they'd be restricted
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah.
We can think about that, you know, because again, that is restricting, and if we continue it with the business zone all the ways down, then that'd be on both sides of the street, that would include nanotech as well, then, that area there, wouldn't
But
it?
again,
Or is that industrial? Is
That's
that
part of
the
the
industrial?
industrial.
Oh, yeah, that is, okay, so we wouldn't include those guys, okay, that's good then, so,
yeah, it wouldn't affect the plan of the project either.
It would impact the Furlong property that's multi-tenant, has the
oh, yeah.
the airport
They do.
storage, powers generator.
Towers and that, yeah.
And then there's the big red building that's a multi-tenant.
I don't know,
I
I don't think we should go down that far, I don't know, those are
I don't think we should.
bigger businesses down there are residences down there.
Just.
I don't know, because of the
Only
impact,
four.
I don't like
Just a couple houses.
the impact of those, pardon me?
Stop at the dam.
The dam, oh, at Wilson Pond Dam, let's have a look there, what are we talking about?
So that would be stopping right
Right,
before.
right by the red barn, just before by the sign place
The
there.
sign
Yes.
is,
Preferably.
I think that'd make more sense to stop there. I think so, so,
Again, also factors into that, the average lot size of the area. It's good to say that for the zone in that area, it's comparing the lots and the characteristics. You don't start throwing in larger lots because it defeats the purpose of the zone.
oh, yeah, and they're larger down there is what you're saying, yeah, yeah. Down there.
So,
Well, I think that's probably by consensus then. What else can we discuss here? Uses, it's been pretty well laid out for us, in fact, those guys did all the work for us,
There's
pretty
a lot
much.
of good work there.
Yeah, actually, Sarah, I think Sarah worked on it a lot, you didn't work on it, no? Must have-
Just a couple
Must have advised
conversations.
them at least, yes.
Just a couple conversations.
So shall we pursue it then?
Yeah.
Board members on there, Brandon?
Yep.
Michael? Pursue it? Yes? I say yes. Richard?
I'd like to see what you're proposing as a combination of the two things, but I'm still not happy with the fact that you're changing, or we have a residential area historically, residential, and we want to change it to a business. It is a business, but we want to maintain the business with some modifications. I'd like to see them come back with a proposal to make it residential, period, with grandfathered existing.
Jane?
I tend to agree with Richard on this.
That is residential, and should be residential. Victoria, are you still on with us?
I am, and I'm I'm remembering when the sewer was extended to serve, excuse me, the Wilson Pond community, and the idea of that, you know better than I do, Scott, but I thought that the idea was to protect Wilson Pond, not to make the area more attractive for business development. It was more to make sure that the existing residences weren't further polluting Wilson Pond. So I think what Richard is saying is in keeping with the reason why we have the sewer service down Route 32 to begin with.
Yep, that is, you're right. Did you hear what she said about the sewer service being down there to protect Wilson Pond? Yeah, you're
Yes.
correct about that. That is
Yes.
the premises that it went in on. But again, when you put sewer in, it's going to attract, and they want as many users as possible to pay for the fees for the plant. So it's both.
So maybe the solution is certainly to adapt what we have as Business District 1 and, identifying those areas where those businesses exist here. So you might have 2 or 3 dots similar to how you have 4 sections right here. And convert the rest to residential. That would be probably very ideal.
I think they call that spot zoning, and we try and keep away from spot zoning, if at all possible. You're talking about individual little fragments of a zone here and
Yeah,
there.
we're
and everywhere.
talking about certainly a business district down here, right? I don't know, maybe between dinner table and Jehovah's Witness, those could just be grandfathered in the residential area. I'm not sure if this block here incorporates the quarry. I'm thinking it might.
That is,
Oh, what comes?
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about what Whitcomb's used to be, or
So,
used to be.
I mean,
Yeah, that's what that would be.
That's in a commercial district probably, Tom. It extends all the way over.
No, it doesn't have frontage on Route 12, not that I can see anyway.
But Whitcomb's certainly does.
Yes, Whitcomb's does, Waste Management
It
does.
shows a separate lot. Take a look at that map that you had right there. It shows a separate lot between the large number 249 and 250. And 250 has the frontage and 249 does not. 249 has the
I know
frontage.
there's a driveway going into them.
Yeah, there is a driveway going there, but I'm saying frontage, where we're talking about frontage. If they had frontage on Route 12,
Well, if they have a road there already, they'd be grandfathered in to use that way.
well, yeah, we aren't talking about that, though. We're talking about zoning it, spot zoning, which
But you couldn't turn that particular lot into residential at this point.
I think the rear side of the quarry overlaps the Route 12 business district.
Oh, yeah, it
sort of.
probably does, yeah, coming back
Because
into here.
there's a triangle there
Yeah.
that overlaps the 32 business
Yeah.
and the Route 12 business. I mean, it's all the business district, but
And the zoning addresses that as to which one is more
Yeah.
stringent and all that, so it could still be done with that, with those still in there. So I would say for those properties.
I mean, there's a lot of houses on Walnut Street, Grove Street, certainly Clark Street. It's all residential. I mean, there's a vet there, right, but it's still in a residential setting. Same thing with the North 32, so, I mean, Richard, you bring up, a great point, so.
Well,
So
ideally, I wouldn't prefer to leave it to a special exception for the things that are allowed by special exception either. Because there's a repair garage or body shop.
No, that's not gonna be allowed in there, none of that is. It's
None of it would be?
No,
taking those things out.
it's only a recreational facility conducted as a business inside of the building and a daycare. Those are the only two special
Oh, this
exceptions.
would be removed, okay.
all of that would
I didn't see that. Absolutely, yeah. I would have thought
So
that.
none of that could go in.
I didn't see removed. I'm flying along here.
So, but that is a pretty dense residential area up there. What we're talking about, this section here especially, we're talking about being quite,
That area, and then these are all homes here too, with the exception of,
All in there.
a couple of apartment complexes. I mean, I think it
I'd like to
feels to me like the right thing to do. That's what it feels like to me. I'm not on board.
so if you drew a residential line, where would that be? Would that be this entire, except for this lot here, would that be this entire thing be residential? Is what we're talking about?
Yeah, anything that's there, grandfather, yeah, so all this, and then here, except for that lot there.
Well, maybe we ought to have a public hearing or some kind of a meeting that all these people are notified and say, this is what we intend to do, what do you think about it? And have, residents, business, whichever, to discuss it. Because it is all residential, but there might be some that say, no, I know I'm living there, but I got a good piece of business property there, you get that. So I think that would be the way to handle it. For now, that's nothing final either, it's just a public hearing, getting public input from it.
You can always fall back on
And what you've got there,
Plan B,
yeah.
which I think you are looking to probably revise anyway, based on the discussion here today.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, I think before we make any decision to which direction to go, we should have the public input. Really is important.
Yeah.
When would you like that to be scheduled for?
Let's see, it can't be our next meeting because that's too soon.
Too soon, yeah.
So we're getting pretty busy in the
Second
next
one in
couple of
August.
meetings, correct?
The end of the month, well, we don't have anything in yet, but we're expecting definitely two, well, we don't have it, but we're definitely expecting 2 site plan reviews for large projects, and possibly 3. I have no
Yeah,
idea
so-
what's coming forward beginning of September,
Yeah.
because it really depends if what's expected in August comes through and finishes.
And I hate to, this could be a big meeting, and I hate to have people waiting around and then
You
finally
could
find
call
out.
a special meeting.
Yes, I was just gonna
No, that's
suggest.
an idea.
That's an idea
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, we can call a special meeting and just have that on the agenda. That would be a
Can
reasonable.
I ask a question?
Yes.
It seems to me, if I were a property owner, it would be very confusing unless you actually had the proposals in front of you to consider,
You're right.
rather than just discussion, general discussion.
Yeah.
We go in all sorts of places. You could have Mark's proposal, you could have another proposal that suggests residential, whatever, but clearly something that states what we're going to discuss rather than just a,
You're right,
I
you're
just
right,
think
we
you're
could
asking for
refine it.
chaos, yeah.
Yeah, we are, but we could refine that into Village Business 1.
Right.
Refine everything here into that.
Right.
With as it's drawn out here, and then the other proposal
Right.
would be, we'll say residential from the whole entire thing, and just see what happens there.
and then
The
let
two-
people,
two
they would
choices
look
like
at,
that.
right, they would actually have something to look
Yeah.
at.
And then, of course, the existing.
And existing, yeah,
And
business as
existing.
it is now, you're right, yeah. So, if we had a special meeting, do we want to do that?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's the best way out of this.
I think so, it's addressing just that one meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Next thing is the date. What can we do? So we need what, 2 weeks for, to notify everyone, and I'd like everyone to get a letter that it's happening. Can we do that? Is that too much of a load to do?
Yeah, we can,
How do we do that?
Sarah's,
No, I'm
Sarah's not
That's a
gonna
lot
be
to
here.
do.
I'm just
That's
trying
a
to-
lot of people there.
I'm trying to determine if that would need to be a certified mailing or if we can do that first class. So ordinarily, like, when you get to the next step and you actually know what's being proposed and you're doing the public hearings for the actual zoning amendments, that's just first class mail. Because we have about 70 properties that are impacted here. And if it's a certified mailing, I'd have to run it by the TA.
Yeah, I would think first class would be fine for that. You know,
I just have to make sure legally we can do that with a public hearing
Okay,
for this. I think
Then
we
do we
probably
need-
can, but I've just got to
we
double
don't need
check.
to call it a public hearing then.
We
can
could
just
call it a
special
listening
meeting.
session or something.
Special meeting, planning
Yeah,
board for
special
that
meeting.
area up there, and
There you
forget
go,
about
right.
being a public hearing.
Perfect, first class.
Are you-
minutes.
Are you sort of like an action
Listening
group?
section.
Are you representing basically an action group? Would you consider that your position?
I think he's gonna ask something else after
Yeah,
that.
no, because what I'm thinking is the neighborhood, of you interacting with the people within the neighborhood that it's going to affect. And make them aware, that this is coming up.
And they should be here to give their opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a petition type of thing, but say each,
I have contacts.
if each of you did like 10 homes.
Well, we should still put it out as a first.
Yeah,
class
well, yes,
meeting.
no, I'm saying, but I mean,
So everybody gets a letter, and then you can spread the word, and we'll have a meeting probably upstairs for that one.
Do you want to try to do that in August
Yeah,
or
let's-
September?
Let's see, what do we do for a date here?
Because you have a regular meeting on the 10th
And the 24th.
and the 24th, and the 24th, that's out. But there's time to notice it for the 17th. I don't know if the Whitcomb Hall is available, we'd have to double check that. And I don't know if Beverly's available, we'd have to double check that.
When are you available for a special meeting?
It depends.
You were-
Wednesday night, just talking around.
Well, the selectmen are only meeting 3 Wednesday nights during August. They're not meeting on the 9th and the 23rd, I think. Forgive me if I don't have a calendar in my head, but you could probably use one of those nights, a Wednesday night.
The 31st would be going into Labor Day weekend, so
No,
that would be, that
But
would
you
not be a
have,
good.
you have, how about August the 23rd? I think they're not meeting, that's a Wednesday night, when they would normally have this room.
Yeah, and it's, so
Yeah, we
it
could
might not be being used that night.
Right.
Is that
Normally
what?
would not
Oh,
be.
you won't even be here.
I won't even
No,
be
you
here.
won't be here.
But
But you
I'll be putting the notices
Yeah.
together.
Well, you're an invited guest.
I'll be invited.
I think they'll-
So the 23rd,
I believe it's a Wednesday,
It is.
Yes, it
so
is.
that's the one they're not meeting.
so let's tentatively say that, the 23rd of August,
Let me just,
to have a special meeting of the planning board,
let me just open this to make sure.
For discussion.
yeah, discussing rezoning the No Swanzey corridor, maybe.
I see that date as being marked on the Wickham Hall calendar.
Oh, you do?
I would confirm that just to make sure it's not a typo, but yeah.
Well,
All right.
every Wednesday is marked for select board, even if they're not meeting.
Yeah, and A23, now, they decided last night they would not be meeting on the 23rd or the 9th. If they have to, they come together and sign some,
The consent
paperwork,
agenda,
right,
yeah.
and it's, they just don't have a formal meeting.
Right.
So the 23rd is free, if that's what you want to use it.
23rd, I think, could work pretty well. Yep.
Gives us advance notice, so we can just read through this stuff and formulate questions in our
Yeah.
minds.
Well, let's see, we need to put together, you know, the modifications that I can work on that, modifications we're gonna do for that business, the Village Business 1, to consolidate it, so would it incorporate everything that these guys are doing. So that's the one proposal there, the other proposal, residential, maybe the whole way, and the third, as it is, and then whatever comes up for that, so there'll be 3 possibilities there. Yes?
Ideally, you would get from this public meeting which proposal you would want to go with. I guess my question is, would you ever put more than one proposal forward on the ballot?
No. Oh, well, yeah, you can. I mean, yeah, we could, the planning board probably wouldn't, but if you had one that was on the petition, then there would be more than one.
And if they both pass, you got kind of a problem.
I see,
That's
I
right.
see it, because, you know, ideally, my person's like a residential idea, but it's not been passed, then whatever. Okay, I was just trying to understand, thank you.
Okay. So 23rd, 6 o'clock, Wickham Hall, we'll have that meeting. It'll be noticed and mailings to be sent out, first class mail. And we'll discuss
Give
as
myself.
many people as possible and see what the consensus is on it.
Do you need anything more, anything for me to work?
Now, we got your, if you have anything to add in, you can just pass it in the land use office, and we can see it prior to that.
I'm always available.
Otherwise, just to spread the word and talk it over, what we're talking about this evening, because there are only, what, 3 of you here. Talk it out.
Obviously, then, you know.
No, we'll just say we'll discuss, you know,
I
discuss.
wanted to be, you know, a good discussion, not a lot of input
Right.
coming from all which way, which we
Okay.
don't know.
Appreciate that, yeah.
Make
Thank you.
myself a note too.
So, yeah, spread the word of what we discussed tonight.
Will do.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Just to be clear for the minutes, would you also be doing a proposed residential district?
Yep, we will. Now, that brings us to zoning amendments discussion. Okay, then. So we have a few more in here, in our packet there. And, let's see,
So ideally, what I'm hoping you guys will do with this list is determine if there's anything you absolutely don't want, so it can be crossed off for future or never,
okay, so,
as the first step of it.
yeah.
Are you requesting that right now, Orma, if you want?
Let's
This
do it,
evening.
let's do it right now, let's do it this evening, we can do it.
If you can actually determine that, which may not be possible, but
Which list are you referring to, the one we,
it's the very last page of the
Yeah,
packet.
okay, I didn't know if you were referring back to
Oh, right.
this.
Oh, no. So just the bulleted items are things that either we've noticed in the land use office has come in for a lot of variances, or things that have been discussed by the board, or inconsistencies that we have found in the ordinance as it exists, or things to help us be more in line with the master plan.
And what's the rationale of removing the self-storage facilities in the business district? Or does it mean to move it up to a permitted use? Or just take it out entirely?
Take it out entirely, so it could maybe be an accessory use in the business district. Just because so much of the land that could be used for businesses that produce jobs
I see.
or
It's being,
contribute to the economy in some
I
way,
see.
it's all being turned into self-storage.
Yeah, it is, you're right.
And I remember a board member mentioning it this year, that maybe it should be a consideration.
I don't recall off the top of my head, is that the only place that we allow it in the business district?
It's also allowed in the commercial industrial district, and that is a use by right. And self-storage isn't allowed in the industrial park, but I believe a storage facility is, so there's possible.
Same thing.
Am I wrong about that? Am I misremembering that?
I don't recall.
I think you're
Okay.
right on that. Well, let's go from the top of the list here, we're all here.
Yeah.
So we have reducing the wetland setback for septic systems from 125 feet to 75 feet, matching the state standards. And we've been 125 for a long time.
And I suggest that we keep it, especially after the recent rains and flooding into certain areas.
So if we keep it 125,
I agree.
fine with me.
I agree with that one.
Okay.
Okay, so nix that one.
Next, that one.
You're gonna get pushback from the Conservation Commission on that one too.
If we
If we
shorten
did it the other
it.
way.
Right.
If
That's
you
why-
short, well, I'm
if
on
you
that
shorten it.
commission, and I absolutely think we should not shorten it.
Right, that's what
And
I'm saying.
especially after all the rains, and I remember when that went in, and that was a big argument.
That's what I was saying, that
And-
commission's not gonna like that.
But the soil, we want to protect the soil
Yeah.
and to put septic and leach closer to wetlands, and wetlands are obviously growing. They're growing in my front yard.
Modern septic systems are allowed to get within 2 feet of seasonal water. This provision has cost homeowners thousands and thousands of dollars. It's cost projects to not even, homes to not even be able to be built.
Good.
It goes through variances 2 or 3 times a year.
Is it that many?
It's-
Yeah, you get a lot of that,
Yeah.
like that, really?
Yeah, it's really been, the problem I have with the whole thing, from my perspective, is where's the science? I read the report that person made, it's a report that one person made, and it's got a lot of, different things in bibliography and all the glossary and all the rest of that stuff. Where's the evidence that it's doing anything?
Well, speaking from my background, it isn't. 75 feet is plenty filtration for a leach field. You're taking solids out with a septic tank. You're only leaching the gray water out through the leach field there. And one of the methods used is what's called a trickling filter. I think Winchester used to have one. Anyways, they have a bed of sand between 6 and 8 inches deep, and they put the water right out on that, let it filter down through, pump that water back out, chlorinate it, put it in the river, and whatever solids on top, they rake it off and take care of it. Anyway, that's what that's called. But 75 feet is a fair amount. In our soils, we have sandy soils here, really pretty well-drained soils. So it's probably gonna go down pretty far. Not gonna leach out into the wetlands there, in my opinion anyways. I know the Conservation Commission, the further the better, but they haven't worked in the field like I've worked in the field. It's not that dangerous of a field, of what's going on. There are a lot of septic systems out there in good working order, some failing, and when they fail, they have to be fixed. It's a health thing right there. But Mike makes a good point about houses not being able to go in. I didn't realize that they were getting variances and stuff for that. I didn't know that.
Almost, not everyone, but so many projects, I mean, multiples. We put out 150 permits a year, obviously they're not all brand new houses. But these people really go through some serious gyrations to get that extra few feet, and it can,
Yeah,
I just consider it to be onerous, and I personally haven't been convinced that there's a great benefit to it. Again, when you can be that close against seasonal high water, all the tanks and all that stuff don't have to be sealed. The technology in these systems has changed greatly from when this was passed. I mean, stone and pipe is still rules supreme because it's bulletproof and it works so well, especially in a place like Swanzey. I just see that it makes it harder on people than I think it needs to, and I know the septic designers and everybody suffers with it, and I just look at houses are so expensive as it is, I don't see where this.
well, they're expensive and far and few in between. You know, we're supposed to be allowing multifamily in here to give people a place to live, you know, low income or however it happens to work out. But we're trying to lure the wrong people in there, you know. There's nothing against them, but you don't have the same pride of ownership when you're renting an apartment like down here that you do on your house, first-hand house or whatever the heck it happens to be. We should be encouraging smaller lots maybe, but individual houses, inexpensive, cheaper houses, however you want to call it. We should be encouraging that. And if this is a way to do it, I'd be all for that.
At the same time, I remember years ago, you were around and I think we were the only ones that are still here. But I remember someone saying, oh, it's wonderful to have people come in and say how easy it is to build in Swanzey. It's so different from other towns. They're so easy. I don't think we need to make it easy. If there's a compromise that would help, okay, but I don't see, and I don't mean to, I don't want anybody to take it personally, but we need to protect our town. We're close to Keene, and Keene uses us sometimes as the pitfall. And I've been around long enough to see that happen too. And I just, I don't want to be the easiest town in the county for people to build their house or build their multifamily. Yes, we need housing, but it doesn't all have to be in Swanzey.
Wouldn't you like to see some of these lots be used up by a single-family home versus a multifamily home, though?
Yeah, but I think that we can draw a line. I don't know how many of them are not built on because they're close to a wetland, but we do have a lot of wetlands, so that could pose a problem. At the same time, we don't have one wetland that we shouldn't care about. And we have aquifers that we really need to care more about than we have on the books now.
But that doesn't mean we don't care about the wetlands.
Yeah.
If we're in favor of using the 75 feet with the state uses. You know, I mean,
if you think that,
in the wetland. I guess the thing that makes me the happiest to work in this community is what I saw tonight. I was so glad to see someone actually come with a viable solution to something. And really came here with an answer. Mr. Solera came here he was prepared to come up with a solution, not just a complaint. And you guys heard him out, and every year you guys put a bunch of warrants on the area, which I think is fantastic. Because no matter what you decide at that meeting, no matter what color that map becomes, you guys next year would be willing to hear changing its color again. As it should be. All these documents are living documents. All I'm saying is I would appreciate if the board would at least give this the chance. Again, your new quasi-studio half-time planner would give you the opportunity to get together with Concom. I'm not saying that my opinion doesn't matter or that they're even wrong necessarily, but to just say no tonight, we're not going to talk about it. When last year we were pretty prepared to just go ahead and let's get rid of it, that's a big swing. We gave Concom a year to come up with the rationale for keeping it. So let's hear what the rationale is. Let's have that conversation. You guys aren't afraid of conversation, which is wonderful.
let's do it. We'll ask the.
well, I respect what Scott said about his knowledge from his work in the field. related, and I respect that. At the same time, I remember what a harangue we had about before, but I do think, Scott, wasn't that around Wilson Pond area? Didn't that have something to, about the setbacks? Didn't it have something to do with something on Wilson Pond?
I don't recall really
Oh, it was a
specifically what
horrible
we're talking
evening.
about there. Really? Yeah, well, we've had a lot of those, so.
No, this one was especially horrible. Ask Larry Crowder.
It is, the state encourages plants like ours down here, which is a lagoon system. It's not activated sludge like Keene is. They encourage you to land apply the water, which would be leach water in this case here. The lagoons out there are like a septic tank. All the solids settle and the microorganisms consume them, and then the water drains off the top. That's what a leach field takes, the water there. And they encourage you to land apply if you can anywhere. We've tried it down here to get Bardwell, I think that's who owns that field still, to allow us to do that. But anytime you hear something about septic, everybody's just scared, scared of it and afraid of it. No, we aren't going to be doing that. But
they got no problem taking a big pile of cow shit.
It's that far from the river.
Exactly.
Untreated.
No
Ours is treated.
No
Yeah, untreated.
Stuart and John.
But
Can I ask a question?
That's who it is. Yeah, Stuart and John. But
Uh,
Victoria, you're saying something?
Question for Mike Jasmine, because Mike, you're talking about this decision being data-driven, and I wonder if you could supply us with some of, ideally a list perhaps of applications for single-family homes that suffered because of the existing setback, and maybe show us where they are in a tax parcel map so that we can visualize that, because right now we're just working off of prior practice up against your anecdotal experience. So maybe we could put data against data.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay, you don't mind doing that?
No,
All right,
it's a perfectly fair and reasonable request.
okay. Well,
Okay, so keeping that to be discussed.
let's discuss it. Let's keep it open for discussion, because there are two sides to it all over the place. I think it's worth discussing again. Everybody else?
Yeah, definitely.
Mike, you feel it's worth discussing again? Jane?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Victoria?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Did we do this on remove self-storage facilities permitted by special exception in the business district? I think you heard Sarah discussed it and said that, and she has a good point. It's taking up valuable business land, with just a storage facility, like right on Route 10 there. That's nice business property there. We've got those storage facilities there and there. Again, it's property rights, each to their own, but yeah, it might be good just to give that a try to see if it goes through, just to limit it for a while. We could always put it back on if there's a lot of petition or a petition article to do it. Yeah, pause, so let's keep that one on there too. Okay, add retail EV charging stations as a use by right or special exception in the business district and commercial industrial district. Yeah, I don't have a problem with adding it as a right. If someone wants to put in a charging station, fine, it should be allowable, an allowable use. It's.
The only thing when looking at those is you put a charging station up and you're gonna take 2 parking spaces away. So when they come in with their plan, they're gonna have to make up those 2 parking spaces.
That's right, they'll have to deal with it.
Well, and this is
Why would you have to?
retail.
Because you have to have a transformer along with the charging station itself.
It would be included within the unit. If you look at,
Not the commercial ones that I've seen.
the ones I've seen are basically standalone units. They have been connected underground, and there's no transformer anywhere near it.
I think you're both right, actually. Where we are in the power supplies that we have here, we are gonna have a transformer, but probably only one, depending on how many you put in.
Right.
So along with the EV charging thing, you're gonna maybe wanna talk about a number of units perhaps, or something like that.
Say like,
Maybe we have to be aware of the parking plan because it will change the footage that you have for your parking plan, because we know the parking stalls have to be so big, put so many in, then how's that going to affect it?
We
We just have to
just-
be aware.
it would
We
be
should
like
up to the
a-
developer, you know, developer wants to
Right.
put them in there, they will configure it.
Right, they have to put it in there, but we have to be aware of what's going on.
We will, as a planning board, as we see it, you know, if
Right.
there's not enough parking, obviously, we'd have them move it around and stuff there, but if they feel that an EV station is gonna help their business, why not have an allowable use for them to do so?
I don't have a problem.
You know?
But especially because some of the dealerships and some of the other businesses are going to be required to put them in by their like Ford is gonna make that, Ford puts them in.
Yeah, Ford's already got
They're not
one.
gonna have an option.
Ford's got one.
Okay.
I would suggest also that any new projects that we encourage the developer to include those kinds,
That
especially
brings-
like in Flatley, where it's market, they're going to be electric vehicles, and those people there are going to own those.
And bring us to the next bullet point.
Before we go to that, could I just ask you guys for a clarification? Do you want that to be special exception or use by right? On the previous
I
one,
would-
retail EV
I wouldn't have a
charging?
problem with it by right. you know?
I think so too.
By
Okay,
right.
just so I can
Anybody
draft
else
the
by
language.
right?
By right.
Brandon, by right?
Sure.
Should,
By right.
Part of the
by
business.
right, but should we put in some sort of specifics as to what would be acceptable?
I mean, how many, number
Well,
one?
well, I don't know about so how many, but design, where they would be located, et cetera, like that.
We
Should
can handle that right at the site plan, you know, if we feel they're in a bad location, we can suggest, no, you should
Okay,
go there right next to
yeah,
that.
as long as we have
propane tank or wherever that
the
is.
ability to modify what they may present
do.
to us,
We will.
as far as
you
that
know,
is concerned.
It's an allowable use, but we don't want to tie our hands with saying, well, going here and there and everywhere. We want to be able to say, well,
Yeah, because
each one it is.
land configurations are so different around here.
Yeah, so.
The other thing is like on Plainview, those landscaped pods at the end of the
Islands.
parking, islands, thank you. You could include your transformer inside that and hide it.
Good, do it
And that would-
case by case
But they
basis.
And then-
take away green space.
No, not really.
No, the plant all around it.
The transformer is not, it doesn't have to, would have to be that large, I don't believe.
Well, if we get one in, we'll
not sure.
decide it. We'll
Yeah.
let the developer say how they want to do it, and we'll look at it and see if it works or not. Just allow the use by right, right? That's what we're talking about, no special exception? Okay. Next bullet point is add requirement for EV infrastructure in parking ordinance for multifamily development. That one I have a problem with, only because if it's gonna work, the developer will wanna put it in there because it'll be good for the development, you know, rather than the planning board saying, you have to put 6 EV chargers here and 2 there, however it is, or the full charge ones, you know, it gets into a whole thing about it. If that developer, if it's gonna be feasible for them to do it, and it's gonna draw their customers or their tenants or something like that, they'll do it.
Marketing driven.
Or they'll do it after it's come into the
It's
change of
marketing
planning board,
driven, yeah.
they'll do it.
We should not make it.
I don't think we should force them, you
I
know,
don't either.
we force too many things, you know, we're gonna draw a line simply, but that's only I wanna know what the board, that's only my opinion on it.
I agree
I think so.
100%.
The market will drive the need.
Market Drive, Richard,
I don't know
comments on that?
if we want to be proactive in
To require them?
my reasoning is there's a federal mandate coming that X amount of vehicles have to be electric by a certain date.
That's gonna
Yeah.
get killed in the next presidential election.
But
no.
regardless of whether it gets killed or not. go
No,
ahead.
but anyways, so why not have something in place ahead of time?
You wanna get ahead of the curve on that. Again, we're allowing it as an allowable use. So
Right.
as a planning board, as it comes in like that, if it's required for the developer to do it, the planning board will see it at that time. And again, go over it then.
I think the largest dilemma with mandating it, aside from philosophical, just not wanting to have too many rules, is, you know, if you've got so many ADA units, and so many regular units, now you gotta try to figure out where they are. Well, if that person who's got the electric car lives on the back side of the building, that's not really all that helpful. So I honestly believe that the market is gonna solve this, because because they're gonna, I think Scott's point is a good one, two ways. A, they're gonna do it because they have to, and it's what people are gonna expect. I wouldn't be at all surprised actually if one or both of these developers don't come back in and want to do it now, maybe even have to talk to them about engagement, quite frankly.
Good.
I agree.
And the second part of that is gonna be that you're gonna also wanna think about, you're also gonna start seeing on-site power generation in the way of solar. Because the grid is gonna have a hard time keeping up with these chargers, especially the rapid chargers. So they're gonna have to incorporate at some point on-site generation of power. It's gonna be a big deal. Micropower is gonna be a big deal coming up.
Did you, I'm sorry.
I agree with, I was agreeing
Jane?
with Mike, I do.
All right,
That's
so-
right.
Did you happen to get the email from Sarah concerning this in Stratford?
I don't think so, no, I don't remember.
I sent it out at 5 o'clock tonight, because it had
Yeah.
just come into me,
Oh.
so I forwarded
Didn't get
it
that.
to you guys,
Their
so.
planning board is requiring X amount of charging stations per,
Square footage or something like that?
yeah, it's, I believe it's square footage or parking square.
I didn't even have time to fully review it, it just came in, and I thought it would be helpful to have more
Stratford.
information.
For what it's worth.
But again, that's Stratford, that's not us.
No,
For what it's worth,
but
code is mandating certain changes too.
Yeah,
By
so-
code, it's gonna have.
As
to
it
be
comes
in the
along,
building.
it'll come along, but, you know, addressing it on a case-by-case basis with the planning board, I think is a good way to do it.
I think so.
Just individual buildings going up.
I really do think that if a developer is building and he's going, they're gonna see that they need these stations.
Yeah.
And they will be putting them in. I don't think we need to require
They
that
don't
they
need us
put
to
them
tell
in.
them.
I think
That's
they
right.
will put them in.
So let's
We can
cross
get
that
rid
one
of
out.
that.
Let's see, amend rear lot ordinance to include provision for ADUs, DADUs as written, it conflicts with the RSA 674721, and it certainly does, so I'm all for that one there. Because we allow a single-family residence on a rear lot, only one residence, but we don't say anything about adding an ADU onto that thing there. But we allow it every other place, it should be allowed in a rear lot as well, I think anyways. Anybody else? Oh, you
Well,
jump in too
I
when
agree.
we're discussing this there.
The RSA says anywhere that you allow single family, you have to allow ADUs.
Oh, well, in that case, that's a
You,
no-brainer.
you don't necessarily have to allow a DADU there, if you wanna split hairs,
Yeah.
but
Well,
I leave that to you guys,
So-
but you do have to allow the ADUs there.
okay, so
So I was thinking
We
you
do
could just
that.
point to,
the way you had it worded,
DADU.
yeah, you worded back here, we'll get to
Yeah.
that, but the way it's worded, I think it's fine in there.
Okay.
So that's a check. Okay, duplex permitted by right for existing structures in the business district. I guess we didn't allow that before.
So that was disallowed in the 2022 warrant, when the density changes went into effect. You can no longer have a new duplex in the business district, and we know that the business district overlaps where residences currently are, and we have had, some folks that don't want an ADU, they want a duplex. They want to turn their existing house into a duplex, and they're having to come forward with variances that are failing. So,
And it would work better for those residential neighborhoods, because otherwise, if they couldn't put the duplex up, they might put in a gas station there.
and having it as, existing structure rather than use by right,
Yeah,
it's sort of like training wheels, testing duplexes in the business district to.
so let's keep that one on there then, that sounds like a good idea.
that
One other,
kind of lends itself to what we were discussing before on North Swansea.
it somewhat it does, and so does this one here. Another one that I just penned in here is to address the density for multifamily in Village Business District 2, and actually other districts as well, I think. I don't think we put a density on there.
There's no limit.
Just-
It's only limited by their ability to provide parking.
Oh, yeah, that would limit it right there, parking, so. Let's see, do we want to,
So they define density where now?
it's for the multifamily, density for multifamily in Village Business District 2, so it's defined by parking is what Sarah just said, and I remember that before we discussed that, so that's defined by parking. You
And
can't get
Village-
enough parking there, you can't.
Yeah, Village 2 is just the mill.
Yeah. And this is just a small thing, but I think we should put the description of Village District 2 which is in section 2 on our zoning, move it to page 2, because it's like at the end, so we go discussing what village business district 1 is, and we say what just regular business is, and then it gets way to the end, and we find business district 2, so we should put them all together, one right after another.
Do you want it where?
Move it to page 2, with the other descriptions
With the others.
of businesses.
Like if you're searching for that information, it kind of gets lost.
It's way at the end, yeah.
Do you still want to address the density for business too, though?
Density for the multifamily?
Yeah,
I don't think so, because you're right, the parking takes care of it.
okay.
Okay, we have just the wording on the special exception or special provisions. I guess we're going to discuss that more at some point about the 75 foot as opposed to 125 foot. So I guess we can skip by that one. Let's see. And yeah, this is written in for the business district, adding in retail electric vehicle charging station as a use. Let's see, we wanted to put it not as special exception though, right? As an
Right, I think you guys.
allowable
agreed
use.
By right, so I'll rewrite that.
Yeah, no special exception there. Okay. And the number 5, one family dwelling, 2 family dwelling, manufactured housing zoning established prior to the adoption of the subparagraph. Oh yeah, it talks about the 1 family to 2 family dwelling conversions that do not change the footprint of the existing 1 family dwelling shall be considered a permitted use in the business district. I think that should be a new letter T under that section there. It would clarify a little, instead of putting it at the end of that paragraph, if we put it down as letter T. And anybody, I don't know, I'm just saying this out, you guys just jump right in here and whatever, it's just my thoughts about it. And yeah, and the rear lock one with the accessory dwelling unit, that seems good to me. And the number Q, or letter Q there, I think we agreed that we weren't gonna force any of that business on people, right? So we just cross that one out, that multifamily dwellings and all that with the EV. Okay. And I think that about sums it up for now. So we'll have that special meeting on that rezoning there, coming up 23rd. And I've gone over this, and I'll go over it again, just to put a few tweaks here and there, and I'll work with, actually I'll probably work with you guys over there on that. Right, and we'll just come up with something for that meeting, rewording a few things here and there, and what's proposed, we'll do it that way. Okay?
We have 2 things under the other business that aren't really listed.
Don't we? I know, you did list it in there, I just missed it.
I listed one of them just on the chair's
Right
agenda.
here.
I guess I handed out the other one in.
Okay, so we have other business, and that is planning board representative for CIPC. And we've stuck it.
No.
Yeah, every year we've stuck Jane with that, sometimes Jane with
I've
it
been
here,
practicing that all day.
So we aren't gonna stick Jane with that, she's been on it long enough.
Long enough.
Any volunteers for that position, that's on the, right, like I said, the CIP,
How often do they meet and what days?
I don't know.
Oh, I think Michael would be perfect on that.
If you want to, that's
That's
fine.
fine.
If nobody wants to do it, I'll do it. I haven't done it. I've been on the board, that one for, quite a while
I'll do
ago.
it for you, maybe I'll learn something.
You want to do it? Okay. Then we will nominate, somebody needs to nominate Michael York before he changes his mind.
I nominate Michael York.
Okay. Seconded, the nomination
I'll
by
second
Brandon
the nomination.
to nominate Michael York, seconded by Richard Lane. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, you have a new position. One more thing.
And
Make the wife happy, she
This last thing is.
Thank you, Mike.
Because you guys like talking about market baskets so much.
You brought us a sandwich.
Let's see.
Are there more? I
Three
think there are 3.
So they're 2
I
separate
just passed
handouts.
those. Whoops, there's another one there. You guys have this one here? Yeah, there are these 2 different ones here.
So you guys can have another one of those, and then four. You want one of those pages that you just sent him.
Is there a double?
Okay, so everybody should have
Yeah, that one.
2 sheets. One sheet It's showing what was approved for Market Basket back in 2011, because they were gonna do a phased development. And the second sheet is sort of existing conditions / their paving. So they never did fully develop the southern section of the site. Most of it is a gravel parking lot right now, and there's a gravel exit that goes out to Route 10. They want to pave the gravel parking lot partially, so the section that they typically use, if you go to the grocery store, you'll see a couple lines of cars parked over there. They want to pave that area and pave the access to Route 10. And what they want to know, so just to resurface an unpaved area, they don't need to come in for site plan review, but the landscaping changes a little bit in this plan. So the question is, what do you want from them, if anything?
Well,
There
and
is no landscaping.
this is their proposed landscaping right here, is that correct?
Yes.
That piece right there is their proposed landscaping, and it looks like a small horseshoe or something, right?
Yeah.
Right
So
there.
right now, there
There,
is a
that
green mound in that area, and
Yeah,
this
it's
sort
right
of
there. It's their
expands.
landscaping.
Yeah,
right
this is what
there.
they wanna do.
That, and that would be green in that part, that grass that we're thinking? In this part
I
right here?
assume so.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of imagining that they would actually put in the plantings that were listed on their original plan, or you could request that. I mean, this was sort of a,
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess the bigger question is, will this require a public hearing, or is this a minor modification that they can come in and have a dialogue with the board?
Isn't that, that's
It
already
is, but
landscaped.
it's not paved. Oh, is that
No,
landscaping
this
there
is,
now?
yeah, because we drive around here all the time.
There is
So
some
that's already
landscaping
there.
there, I just can't remember the full extent of it.
I don't know the
They're
extent of
gonna
it, but it is
Okay, so
landscaped
that
now.
is there now.
But it might
They're
not
just
be
gonna
very
pave that.
good.
And there, you know, if you look really closely, you can see hash marks kind of underneath the landscaping area, so you can see the footprint of what is there right now. So this is a little bit more
Right.
than what's currently there. And I would imagine, since they're paving it, they're proposing curbing the landscaping, because right now I think it's just a mound.
Yeah.
And then they're going to pave another exit out of there?
Yeah, so they have a gravel exit right
Right.
now, and they'd like to pave that.
Now, they're going to pave this. This is the one that shows what they're gonna do?
That's what they'd like to do, yes.
And then out here.
Yep.
Okay.
And then the remainder of the gravel area would remain gravel,
All
you know,
this.
yeah.
Okay. What's all this stuff? I mean,
Oh, that's what we approved.
2011.
That's what we
Okay.
approved with the new building. Isn't there, but that was a separate building they had proposed
they
for that
were,
area. there.
okay, this is what they were going to do.
Yeah.
This is what we,
They didn't
okay.
build it yet, anyway.
We would need to see drainage.
Well, the drainage, so the whole site was designed
We've seen the drainage.
with, yeah, you've seen the drainage on this, and the state views pavement the same as gravel for impervious surface and drainage. You know, the
Which is gravel
AOT,
now, yeah.
AOT looks at it that way, and they're already working with the state, letting them know that they're updating, because they'll have to amend their AOT permit. Or that's what they imagine, so they're having that conversation with DES to see what they'll require.
Well, I think it's a minor modification, since everything, the flow and everything remains the same, except pavement on there, but everything else remains the same. We could hit them up on the landscaping part of this, though. I was just looking to see what it would fall in, or it might be not in our, you know, we redid that parking, correct? Can you find it?
In the site plan regs?
Yeah, oh
Or
yeah.
in the wrong
regulations.
document?
Yeah, I'm in the wrong one, that's it, I've got my brand new one here, so.
Right here.
Yeah,
Oh, not
okay.
there, here it is. Over.
There we are, brand new one here.
Yeah, so in the site plan regs, you guys can't restrict them or require them to come in to ask if they can pave. So, I mean, I really think the only thing that's within your purview is if you want to discuss the way that it's landscaped, because,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the only way we can get them in here probably. We probably just ought to just to make sure that we
I
have a
think so.
conversation about it there.
Okay, I can let them know.
Definitely.
Yeah, and we'll just discuss that at that point there.
You know, just on, what's their landscape plan, bring it in, and
Yeah, see what they propose. Although they will need a new copy of those site plan regs in regard to that. Everyone in agreement on that? So let's have a motion that this is a minor site plan change and that they do not need a public hearing.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Brandon, that it's a minor site plan change, not require a public hearing. Require them to come in, is there a second?
What about the landscaping part of it?
Require them to come in on the landscaping part of it. We can't require them to come in on the paving part of
Okay,
it. So we
so
can
we're
on the
we're
landscaping.
making a motion on the paving now?
No, we're making a motion that they need to come in, that they will come in, but not with a public hearing. They don't have to go through the whole site plan review just for
I'll
that.
second.
Seconded by Jane. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay. So one of our next meetings, they will be in that proposal, and like we've been looking at their drawings for a while anyways, with our training exercise, we should be pretty familiar with those. Okay, I think that's about it. Have I forgotten anything, Sarah?
Not that,
Nothing?
that I am remembering.
Anybody else have anything for this meeting? Anybody in the peanut gallery over there? Okay.
The peanut gallery just wants to make sure that everybody understands, but great job, sir, did.
Oh, yes,
I'm gonna make a motion as a resolution to thank Sarah for her loyal and great help that she gave us.
She's been one of the best I've worked with, and I've been on the board for a long time.
That's right.
I've only worked for
Very
three, but
good.
she is the best that I've seen.
It's been a pleasure working with you guys.
Well, feeling definitely is mutual.
We still
Sorry
don't
to
know
see
what
you
this
go,
is
but
yet.
I'm not telling.
we're,
You'll never know.
Yeah, well, if it's in the area, maybe I'll visit every one of them.
well, we're happy for you anyway, so.
Yes, we are.
Thank you.
Anything else? Right.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. A motion to adjourn with
Jane
the
makes that motion,
Jane?
and I'll second.
Okay, I will. That I'll do. I move that we adjourn.
I second.
Motion to adjourn by Jane, second by Brandon. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Oh, okay.
Oh, go ahead, Mike, let's see it.
Now, that was an economic one.
Yep.
How many days a month do they meet, just one?